I'm Amy Richardson, owner-agent at the Savvy Realty Group. How long will your Ahwatukee home be on the market? In a hot market, and I don't mean the heat of our summers, where there's limited inventory, meaning there are more buyers than homes to purchase, you can actually expect your home to sell in just a few days. Although, I highly recommend for allowing the home to have the proper marketing time so you can get the most amount of offers with the very best terms.
Hello, I'm Laura Hertzler, head of school here at Keystone Montessori, nestled in the Ahwatukee Foothills. We are celebrating over 25 years of serving the community with authentic Montessori education. Our community at Keystone is home to 12 classrooms serving children from 15 months to 15 years old. We take great pride in each of our Montessori environments that support our students at each stage of their development. Please call us today for more information. We would be happy to welcome you to the Keystone family.
Well, man, it's time to do another Move the Needle podcast. I am Matthew Blades. Steve Petz, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Third episode already. All have been fantastic, in my opinion.
Academy Award winning.
The guests have been outstanding.
Emmy Award winning.
We've had, yes, Emmy Award winning guests, and their messages and what they're resonating in the community is amazing.
Yeah.
And today's another follow up.
Yeah, we're at Foothills Golf Course. We could.
Yes.
I mean, does that put us up for an ESPY? Like, technically, aren't we in the sporting world now?
We are. This
Okay.
is it. This is it.
Well, we're here today because there is the most incredible event that's getting ready to take place here in just a little while. 100 plus women who care. We're going to learn so much about this organization today and the woman who runs the chapter here in Phoenix. And we're going to talk about what they do. We're actually going to talk to a couple of the women who have received or been on the receiving end of the 100 plus women who care. We'll find out a little bit of history on this thing. And then, like I said, we're going to talk to Michele and Kay later on in this podcast. We're going to have Amy Richardson on. You know, she's Savvy Real Estate. Right. And she has a story that she said to me, I can't believe this isn't a bigger story on the news because it could potentially affect every single home sale as it relates to agents moving forward.
Absolutely. And she also shared another stat she just found out today she's going to bring on the show too regarding the rental inventory, which is a little bit shocking as well. It'll tie into it all. So, and there's also, let me interject, 100 plus women who care, another special event tonight. They are celebrating their 10-year anniversary here. So that's just an amazing feat. And we're going to have Kim dive into a little more.
Talk to me about Kim. She's right there on your right-hand side. How did you guys learn about each other?
She is. When you talk about community mayors, the type of people who, get things done, she's referred to me as again, somebody that was a leader in the community. And we just connected. I mean, it's been quite a while. And she's been a contributor to our magazine and other newspapers in the community, sharing their stories all along the way, and the amazing pictures. And so we also been friends. I mean, she's a mentor to me. And like,
what do you guys play pickleball together?
Brunch?
Like,
not pickleball. She's a mentor in the sense that Move the Needle. She was one of the very first people I interviewed, Matthew. Yeah. When I said, when I think of Move the Needle, I think of Kim Tarnopolski. Yeah. She's behind the scenes, that unsung hero that a lot of people talk about in the communities, that, there's the 100 plus women who care, but it's not only here, it's in a couple other communities we'll talk about, Chandler, Gilbert, Scottsdale, and this is the person behind it. There's always the brainchild. I've got some good juicy questions for her, because I want to find out the why. What makes that tick? What makes her go in this position?
All right, well, let's sing her praises. Kim, officially welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So great to have you here, and I'm excited to learn more about what you're doing specifically here tonight. And we're going to sit down with a couple of women who are recipients of the generosity. So how does this start for you? I know that this is an international program that got started back in 2006, but how did it come to show up in your world?
It showed up in my world. I was sitting on the board of Teen Lifeline, and somebody in Teen Lifeline said, I'm going to nominate Teen Lifeline for my 100 Women Who Care group. And I said, what is that? I was recently retired from a 20-year career in human resources.
We got to talk about that.
Oh, yeah. And I said, I did that for 20 years. I'm not going to do that for another 20 years. And this landed in my lap, and it's women, it's community, it's events. And I came home, and thank God for the internet. And I got to work, and I Googled it and said, this is it. This is what I want to do next. I had the space in my life to do it, called up some friends and said, I think I found our next thing. And we kicked it off 10 years ago.
So what is the gist of 100 Plus Women Who Care? What makes it special? What happens at these events?
So it is a form of philanthropy called a giving circle.
Got it.
A lot of people have not heard of a giving circle. And it's where women come together, they pool their resources, and it's a democracy. They vote on who they want to support that quarter. So it's a very simple equation, and it can be tweaked for your chapter. You get 100 women together for 1 hour, once a quarter. Those women nominate local charities. We vet those charities. We draw 3 names a quarter. Those women present their charities to the group. The women vote, and every woman donates $100 to the majority winner. And in 1 hour, we've donated $10,000 or more to a local charity.
I mean, that's good math.
The math works to me.
There's
the math
no
works to me too.
There's no banquets.
Amazing.
There's no auctions. There's no months of planning.
Is there a better example of if everybody does a little, nobody has to do it all?
Right.
I mean, this is what you're doing.
Yep. It's simple.
Yeah.
It's a simple concept, but it's very impactful.
Yeah.
But somebody like yourself, and again, coming from that corporate world, I want to know, how has that resonated? How has that helped you in 100 Plus Women Who Care? What did you take from the corporate world that's allowed you to make that very smooth transition and really you stepped right in?
Well, I mean, I've been in the Valley since 1989. So one of the things it takes to pull this off is a big network. And between my husband and I, we have a very large network. And then my other colleagues that I brought into it have a big network as well. So that's what it starts. You have to have a network to get people in the door. And then it spreads via grassroots word of mouth. We were talking about zodiac signs earlier. I'm a Virgo. I'm extremely organized. I'm very detail oriented.
You are my hero.
I am type A, and I just get things done. Yeah. And, my career in human resources taught me to make things simple for people, put strategies in place, put procedures in place that all they have to do is really just show up, and I do the rest.
That's what I was looking for, because there's others that, in our audience that are going to be looking and listening to you here, and you want to get as many people involved in doing what they can. So, yeah, thank you. I knew you were, obviously your background had something to do with that segue, so.
Can you, do you think you're lucky stars that you're not in HR in 2024?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I got out
it's
when...
so different.
Yeah, medical marijuana was coming on the scene. The Affordable Care Act was coming on the scene. And I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah, let me just segue out and try something new. Talk to us a little bit about the deal that you guys have with Best Buy. This is a pretty important partnership for your organization, yeah?
It is. So the 100 Who Care Alliance, there's over 800 chapters around the world. And the chapter in Minneapolis caught the eye of Richard Schultz, who's the founder of Best Buy. He actually likes to stay behind the scene, but it's the Richard M. Schultz Family Foundation.
We'll cut that part out, Richard.
Yeah. So they started probably 10 years ago doing some matching funds with the Minneapolis chapter. Mm-hmm. And then they rolled out a program to do matching funds for all 100 Women Who Care chapters around the U.S.
Amazing.
So,
that's
great.
A big backer.
It's just so cool. And he sounds like the kind of person who understands what kind of an impact he's going to have.
Absolutely.
I mean, that just adds so much strength to what you guys are trying to do. What is next for 100 Plus Women Who Care? Is there a thing that you guys are going to talk about here tonight at your event, some place you're trying to step into, or is the state of affairs just good right now and you guys are just, in your lane driving?
Well, based on the experience we've had and with nonprofits, we know that to stick to your mission. And so our mission is very singular. We facilitate a giving process for our members, and we stick to that. We don't deviate from that. We don't bring in outside vendors to sell jewelry, to give us a percentage.
Are you sure I have a friend?
No, we've been approached by a lot of people to say, well, we'll donate to your cause, but it just doesn't work. So we will hear from Michele Thorne, who you will talk to later this in the podcast.
Yep.
She's the recipient of our funds last quarter. So she's going to tell us how they put those funds to work. And then we're going to hear about 3 brand new charities tonight, and our members will vote, and we will pick another recipient, and we will give them over $15,000 tonight.
Yeah. So do we know who's getting ready to speak tonight? What organizations are getting ready to come on?
We do.
You won't be ruining it because this podcast will air weeks after this event has taken place.
They know. It's the Arizona chapter of Paralyzed Veterans we'll hear about. Arizona Adaptive Water Sports.
Oh, great.
We will hear about. And you are testing my memory right now.
That's all right.
I can't think of the third one off the top. I can't think of the third one off the top of my head. It'll come to me, but
that's all right.
Yeah.
But there is more to. We are at 100 Plus Women Who Care Ahwatukee. Kim, tell us about the other areas that you work in the valley too.
Not all 800, but just a couple.
Yours. They're under under your wing.
Yes. So when we launched our chapter 10 years ago, we started in Ahwatukee and Scottsdale. And then about 7 years ago, some women in the valley came to us and said they wanted to open a group in the East Valley. And so they decided, instead of starting their own group, that they wanted to roll up under us. So that's how we got out to the East Valley.
Okay. What are you looking forward to tonight? Is there a favorite part of every event that you have? It's got to be that moment that you decide who it's going to be, and then everybody starts paying them.
It's super exciting when you announce who the charity recipient is. And, we're very specific in our language. There's no winners. There's no losers. Even the 2 charities who don't get funding from us, they have got exposure, awareness, people who have not heard of their charity before. Now they know about them. The ripple effect has been amazing over the last 10 years. Our charity recipients and the charities nominated get volunteers. They get clothing donations, furniture donations, feminine hygiene products, which you're going to hear about in a little bit. So it just really, the women who come here have a big heart and they want to give back.
So cool. All right. Well, thank you so much,
Shakers,
Kim.
but before we go, I've got one more thing.
All right,
Kim.
hit her with some hard.
People who know Kim also know there is a fun side of her. She is I'll call her a world traveler, and it's not a hidden secret. Anybody who's friends with her goes to her Instagram and does that. She's a world traveler, but she's also a big proponent of traveling around Phoenix. Okay, I want to know, in a perfect day, you have a guest here. Where do you take your guest in Phoenix? And where's your hidden gem in Phoenix?
Are you working on some new dating material?
Wow.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Hey,
Does it have to be Phoenix? Can it be the state of Arizona?
Okay, we'll go state of Arizona.
I mean, Sedona. Sedona's my happy place.
Okay, there
my
you go.
happy
That's what I was
place,
going
Yeah,
for.
Sedona's my happy place. Sedona
that's where you're sending me to Sedona.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm a big hiker. Steve and I see each other on the trail quite a bit when it's not 115 degrees outside.
Couple months.
Yeah, yep. So Sedona's my happy place. We get up there a couple times a year. The Hangover Trail is one of my favorite trails.
Ooh, I'm writing that down.
Is that the hidden gem, or we call that your hidden gem?
Yeah, my hidden gem.
There we go.
And Mariposa.
Okay, she gave me one.
Mariposa for dinner.
Okay. Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Good restaurant. It's such a good restaurant.
So good. Lisa,
I just got my mouth actually.
Yeah.
I'm jealous I haven't been. So
Really?
No,
Yeah, it's worth its
those
weight
would be
in
the
gold.
2 places I would take people.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Kim, thank you so much for your time.
Awesome
You're
job.
welcome.
Thank
Yeah.
you for
You're
having
welcome.
us.
We're going to
Being
bring
here.
in now Michele Thorne and Kay Wright. And as we've been talking about tonight's event, the 100 Plus Women Who Care, they're going to have an opportunity to be involved with this thing. In the past, these organizations have already received the kiss of 100 Plus Women Who Care.
Yes.
And so I'll start with Kay Wright. Kay, you have what looks to be tampon earrings.
I do. I have tampon earrings.
Okay.
Yes.
Don't you explain?
Do you have any?
You know what's funny is I didn't bring mine, but why?
I'm president and co-founder of Women4Women Tempe, and our sole mission is to provide feminine hygiene products to women who can't afford them.
What a great idea.
And that's all we do. We're real singular too. And this is, when you wear your tampon earrings, people notice it because they're not subtle.
They're not subtle.
They're not subtle.
But you're
at all.
not trying to be subtle.
No, I'm not trying to be subtle.
Yes.
And did you notice she did bring the diamond studded ones too? She said she was gonna bring.
We talked about that on the
They're on
production
order.
call.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
So why? What started this mission for you?
This started about 8 years ago when
Okay.
my husband and I were coming back we have a place up north, and I was listening to NPR, and they were talking about a woman in Dallas who was giving pads and tampons to women living on the street. And I had done volunteer work at Paz de Cristo and Tempe Community Action Agency, and had never thought about it. I had never thought about what in the world a woman living on the street would do when she started her period.
Right.
And it just cut me to the core to think about that, because it's hard enough to be a woman. It must be awful to be on the street, and then when you start your period, what do? You steal. You use paper towels. We met a woman once who wasn't living on the street, but she had been cutting up pillowcases for pads until she found out a place that had our bags. It's just nobody thinks about it, nobody talks about it, and a small handful of us decided to do something about it.
Yeah.
We knew nothing what we were doing, but we've done it for 7 years now.
Well, I'll bet every woman that you come in contact with goes, oh, duh.
Exactly. It's honestly, it's something that every woman can relate to, and every man either can relate to it or pretends he does because he's going to get in trouble.
Yeah, he's got a wife or a daughter.
We're going to make fun of you.
A sister. Get over yourself,
exactly.
buddy. We got things to make happen here. You got a question?
So 7 years, where are you taking this? Where are you going, Kay?
We take these to where we distribute them?
No, where are you going from here? Where's the growth? Tell me about that.
The growth has been incredible. Our first full year of doing this, we gave out 8,000. We have bags of pads and bags of tampons, and the pad bags have 12 pads, 6 panty liners, feminine wipes, and hand wipes. Tampon bags have 15 tampons and the rest of the stuff. And the first year we gave out 8,000 of our little bags. Last year we gave out over 48,000 of them. Plus, we're also distributing cases of pads and cases of tampons to the schools in the high school district in Tempe.
Yeah, that's great.
If that meets the place's needs better than the bags, then that's what we do.
And I have such a dumb guy question. Please forgive me in advance. But how many bags would a woman need to get through a cycle, for example?
At least 2. And so when we take the bags and we start distributing them through different organizations, we encourage them to let women take however many they need.
Yeah.
And
2, 3,
we're in Mountain Park health centers all throughout the valley, and they're in baskets in the lobby with a signage that says, take what you need, but be considerate because other people might need this.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of stories. You probably can tell us a lot of stories. Can you share at least one maybe recently, just one maybe somebody that was so thankful, a situation where maybe caught you by surprise?
I have a couple. One of them is that I take bags every week to Native Health in Central. So I was getting off the 51 once at Indian School, and there was a woman there with a sign saying, I need food or money. And so I rolled down my window and I said, do you need pads or tampons? And she stopped for a minute. She said, well, yeah, I do. And I said, which do you need, pads or tampons? And she said, I need tampons. And then she said, wait, I'm over 50 and I'm having problems with incontinence, so I need both. Just broke my heart. Wow. So I gave her the bags, 4 bags, and she went off and put them in her tent under the overpass at Indian School in 51. And I think of that woman. I think of that woman a lot. And when I'm thinking life is pretty crummy, I remember that this woman has nothing, is living in a tent.
Yeah, like basic hygiene. It's just
basic
your
hygiene.
rights.
It's such a plain thing. It's a human. It's not a woman problem. It's a human problem.
Let me ask you, how could somebody get involved that would want to, here's this, and they go, that's genius. I gotta help in, whether that's monetary or volunteer time or whatever you could use.
Just contact us we have a Facebook page and Instagram and a website, and contact us, and they all go to me, so I'm the one who contacts.
What's the site called?
It's called Women4Women Tempe.
Women4Women.com.
And we're Women for Women Tempe because there was a GYN clinic in Chandler that was Women for Women, so we had to get their permission, and we just threw Tempe on the end.
So cool.
Why not?
Works.
Did you ever think, like, when you were in your 20s and 30s, you'd be doing this mission?
No, I've opened my car door the other day and a bunch of tampons fell out. So no, I never did. I honestly never thought this was
incredible.
That's pretty hilarious.
That's so cool. Kay, thanks for being on.
Thank you very much for having
It's
me. It's been
incredible.
fun.
Michele Thorne is here.
Yes.
You also have been a recipient in the past. And so talk to us a little bit about the organization that you're in charge of.
Yeah, so I'm the founder and CEO of Care for the Caregivers, and our mission is basically to take care of parents who are raising children with disabilities. I founded this organization after both of my kids were diagnosed with autism, and my whole life just completely fell apart.
Yeah.
And I realized that there are hundreds of thousands of organizations out there that take care of our kids, but nobody who's checking in on the parents and making sure that the parents are okay. And studies will show you that we are not okay. I can tell you from my own personal life experience, we're not okay.
Yeah.
Our whole life gets turned upside down, and there are no resources out there for the parents and the primary caregivers. And so that's our mission, and that's what we do.
How do you support them?
So we do a lot of things. We provide free counseling. So in the last 6 months, we've provided over 350 hours of free counseling to
Amazing.
caregivers. We do education courses, so we teach parents how to work with their kids, and we also help them shift their perspective of disability. When you learn how to embrace your children for who they are and stop trying to get them to fit in and try to be normal, whatever that is, then your life gets dramatically easier, right?
I know what she's talking about. So as a youth hockey coach, we have seen a big influx of people that are on the spectrum that are playing sports, right?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I remember a few years ago going down that rabbit hole and being like, how can I be a better coach for these kids? Like, because if you look at them just on face value, sometimes they look disengaged or like they're not really paying attention, or and it would be easy to get frustrated with them. But I didn't want to have that approach. Yeah. And so what I learned is that like there were certain jobs that I could give kids that fell into a certain space that they would excel in, that would completely light them up. And it was silly things, man.
Yeah.
In the hockey, like opening the door or keeping track of shots on goal. Like I just found that if I put them in their strengths, man, they just lit up like a Christmas tree. And that's kind of what you're talking about.
That is exactly
shifting your perspective of how we see it.
Yes.
They're so good at different things that I am terrible at.
Correct.
How do we get them to go in and just shine?
Remember the old adage, we are all special in our own way. And I don't think that's changed. I mean, they used to say that it was kind of a common thing.
Sounds like a PBS special.
It was. I mean, that was the thing. It's like, and it's true. I mean, is it not? I mean, it is. I mean, so it's amazing. But I've seen also, we talk about, sports. I've seen close up the parents. So, and I've, being a parent myself, it's even kids that aren't challenged is a challenge. So throw the challenge on the challenge on, and so, it's just amazing that what you guys do, because the parents do get overlooked. And I think a lot of them that I know internalize as well. They don't share. You talk about the mental game. I mean, really, that's amazing. Like that's what they're doing. Their first step is really working with them, the counseling.
Well, and I think you shared with us on a call that your own mental health got really serious for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's really why I started this. I mean, I grew into deep depression and I was suicidal for months, and nobody even saw it and nobody even knew. And you have to also think that we have therapists coming in and out of our house. We're constantly at therapy clinics, right? We're constantly talking to medical professionals, but nobody is actually considering the health and the wellness of the parent.
Yes.
Right.
And you're right, we miss that. And how can you guys
Totally
even
miss
take care of
that.
your kids if you're not taking care of yourself?
Well, and that's it, exactly, right? And the isolation that parents feel, I mean, everybody can relate, I feel, a little bit to what caregivers go through, because everybody went through COVID, right? We all went through COVID, we all were shut in for 2 weeks, and what happened? Everybody freaked out, right? I can't take my kid to the grocery store, I can't go to the concert, I can't. And it's like, you guys experienced what isolationism is like for 2 weeks and could not handle it. Imagine feeling that kind of isolation for years.
Yeah.
And that's really what happens here. And so another thing we haven't touched on is the amount of community events that we do. So
give us some examples.
Yeah, so the first 6 months of the year, we did 150 community events. That's almost one community event a day. And we are in Phoenix, we are in Flagstaff, we are in Tucson, and then a lot of our community events are virtual because for a lot of families, access to respite, just the ability to leave your house is a barrier to care.
Wow. So what happens at these events?
Oh, we do. There are some serious events like, the support groups, but then we also have, and Amy's going to touch on this today when she speaks, but we also have what's called Find Your Fun. Like, let's bring joy back to these parents. So we do axe throwing, we do rage room, we do paint nights, we do stuff that's just trying to get them out of their funk and pull them out and get them around people where they're laughing and engaging again with community.
I would imagine it's hard for these parents to let themselves do this.
It is,
right?
It is a process. It is definitely a process to, it's a lot of head fakes and it's a lot of like, we're going to pull you in and we're going to pull you in slowly. And then we're going to wrap our arms around you and make sure that, you're seen and supported.
Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just listening again, as a parent, and I've seen what you're talking about, and it's again, like as somebody that's part of the community and been part of the community and will forever, it is sometimes heartbreaking to see, and there's not classes that teach, and also on the flip side, there's not classes that teach other people how to engage and say, hey,
education is the big barrier, right?
Your neighbor has a disabled kid. I've been in those shoes, and this, it's uncomfortable for them too because they don't know how to engage. There's really, and so the fact that you guys are doing that's what was missing, is the actual engagement with the people. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, I feel compelled to ask you, what are some of the biggest misconceptions? Where do people get it wrong, right? Like, because you know how this works, right? People don't know what to do, so they don't do anything.
Yeah, and I think too, there's like that misconception of they don't need help and support. Like as women, we're just expected to be able to do it, right? And here's another thing.
And also, if you don't look a certain way, also too in society, if for some reason you don't look needy or look like you're hurting inside. Like people say that a lot of people walk around, and they maybe put a nice smile on their face, trying to brave through the day, but inside they're broken. And so,
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. So we are doing our first evidence-based research study. And when we first did our entrance interviews, we had to harp on that a lot. Like, you have to take off that persona that you have it all together, because that is the face that everybody expects us to walk out with and to put on and to shine.
If she's fine, he's fine, she's fine, and they're not.
And they're not. And even after saying that to our people who are in our study, we came back into the exit interviews with us, and they're like, okay, these answers might actually be worse than the entrance interviews because I'm actually feeling feelings again.
Yeah, it's bad.
And I'm feeling emotions again, and I'm not just shutting everything out.
Right.
Because when you shut out the hard stuff, you also shut out the joy, right? Like you can't turn one spigot on and one spigot off.
And really, that's how I see this, Matthew. I mean, this is a charity of joy. I mean, working with the parents and turning things around. It's not a woe's me type of thing.
Correct.
It's let's pick each other up, let's hug each other and move forward, right?
That's a huge focus of ours. Is anytime I meet somebody, I'm like, we're fun, come play with us.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's all about, right? Come on, we have your support. We have all the support you could need. If you need mental health support, we have it for you. If you need training and education, we have it for you. And then if you just want people to have fun with and connect with, we have that for you.
Or if
too.
you need to go hit a support group and just get it off your chest, like, come on, we're
yeah,
here
exactly.
for it.
Well, and there was a quote one of our caregivers gave to us, and I will love her forever for it. But she basically said that, if you take away hope from the caregiver, then you take away the future of the child. And I feel like when you get a disability diagnosis, that's what happens. You lose a lot of hope for your child's future. You lose a lot of hope for your own future. Your future just changed in a blink of an eye. And so what we're trying to do is really give that hope back to the caregiver and the future back to the child.
Love it.
It sounds like you are.
Yeah, and what comes across to me, and I think it comes across to the audience too, is like you like to think the world is this terrible place to live, but look at all these good people. I mean, really,
exactly.
look at all these good people.
We're finding them all over the place. So, and bring on more. You know what we're doing here, move the needle. We want more.
Yeah. That's great.
Bring it
Thank
on.
you guys so
Yeah,
much
thank
for
you.
coming on our podcast.
Keep on keeping on.
Keep on
doing
giving
it.
out pads and tampons and keep helping
Yes.
people and their parents. And speaking of good people that we want to bring onto the podcast, we're getting ready to segue into our Rising Star interview. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation because I had I guess we could call it a production call with Amy a couple of weeks ago. And she was filling me in on this thing that's happening behind the scenes for real estate agents. And I mean, the passion score in which she shared this information with me was a 50. She is into this story, and probably for good reason. She runs a little thing called Savvy Real Estate, and Amy Richardson is our guest now. How are you? Look great. I love the green dress.
Well, thank
Looking
you.
good.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Get
it.
as close as you can to that
Okay.
microphone. We want to make sure we hear everything that you're doing. So,
I just feel short.
yeah. Do you? That's all right.
I need a little booster chair.
Yeah, well, can we get a booster chair in the back? No, just kidding. Talk to us a little bit about Savvy Real Estate and how this came to be, because you know there's some mentorship that's in place before you get to this. So let's start at your beginning story.
Your why.
My why?
Your why.
Oh my gosh. So I got into real estate about 8 years ago, and before that, I was helping my now ex-husband build his financial advisory business, and so I was in that for 12 years and took his business from this little mom and pop to now then I wasn't needed. So I had to find my purpose and my why. And I woke up one night in the middle of a dream and realized I wanted to do real estate. And at the time, my husband said, "Do you know how many real estate agents there are in Ahwatukee?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, I do. But you know what? I'm going to go talk to Bonnie Holland, who had, to me, the corner on the market. She has been in the industry for so long, and I just really respected her. And I knew that she was, the real deal. And I said, if she says I shouldn't do this, then I won't. And instead, she actually said, I think you'd be great, and let me mentor you. So
How about that?
I was really grateful, and I learned a lot. And then I just decided, it was time to do my own thing, and I wanted to build something for myself. And now
Here
we
we
have
are.
Savvy Realty
Yes.
Group.
Savvy Real Estate is here, man. Savvy Realty Group is here. So let's talk about the current state of affairs.
Yes.
All right, it's a wild situation out there with home prices, with what's on the market, and I haven't had to buy a house in a few years. So where are we at here in 2024? What's the landscape like for folks?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question.
Is it a big
right?
question?
I mean, it is.
All
There's
right.
probably a bunch of pieces to that.
Break
but-
it down.
Yeah, break her down.
Oh gosh. So 2022, as you know, was quite a crazy market, and houses were flying off the shelf, and the prices were rising and rising, and buyers who wanted homes really had to kind of throw aside any idea of whether or not they wanted to ask for anything in an inspection, whether they wanted to even have repairs done at all, and maybe if they didn't have perfect credit, or if they didn't have a lot of down payment, they weren't going to get a house. They were getting passed over, and the sellers had all of the cards. And now, with rising rate environment, it has come down a little bit, but still buyers are a little bit skeptical. They are not coming off the sidelines yet. So year over year, we have 57% more listings than we did last year at this time. But the buyers have not quite come off the sidelines.
When do you think it is?
So it's a combination, but rates, we get a little dip here and there, and then they spike back up, and they're just waiting. They're waiting for that perfect rate, and I don't know that that's a good idea. If I were to, as I guide my buyers, I tell them that they really need to look at this time right now, because it is a balanced market, and it actually, where any house could have sold a couple years ago, now any buyer, I think, can get their deal and can get the price that they want and can get the concessions they might need for, fixing something up or being able to pay for their closing costs or whatever. So while 2022 was this whole, the ugliest house on the market still sold without any concessions or any problem, now it's, maybe this buyer has a house to sell, So they, may have to go contingent. They may not have a big down payment. They may not have, the best terms, but they're going to get looked at if they're the only game in town. So it's a great time for buyers to really step
You hear that?
off
It's a
the
great time
sidelines.
for buyers. Give them your website really quick. It's a great time for buyers. I'm sorry.
What's your website?
Savvy Realty Group.
There it is. .com. Go there right now.
Yeah,
Especially-
SavvyRealtyAZ.com.
Yeah, especially if you're a buyer. You know what I always wonder? You probably have questions too, Steve, so fire away. But I always wonder, is it still the same? Is at the end of the day, is it all about location? Is it all about the bathroom? Is it all about the kitchen? Is it all about the backyard? Like, are those things still very much the things buyers are looking for the most?
Well, right now, buyers are looking for the perfect home because they can. So, they want it redone. They want it turnkey. They don't want to have to deal with any kind of remodeling. And I will tell you what one of the buzz things in Ahwatukee is, and maybe, any home that was built in the 90s, which a lot of Ahwatukee was built in, if the underlayment of the roof has not been done, they are going to want a concession for that.
Yeah, red alert, everybody, red alert on the podcast. This is a big deal right now. You told me about this in our phone call. You said, so say that again. If your house was built...
I mean, in the 90s, underlayment, so here we have, the roof tiles that last forever, especially if you have a tile roof, right? The underlayment is what goes bad. So 20 to 25 years at pretty much the most. I mean, I've seen a couple that are in their 30s and they just been chugging along and, they've been patching leaks and doing whatever. And now insurance companies are starting to cancel their policy of their roofs until they actually get the underlayment replaced.
Wow, so that's a big
so buyers
red
are aware
flag.
of that.
Yeah.
And if they aren't, the buyer's agents are making them aware of that. So it's something to look at.
Is an underlayment as expensive as getting a roof? Is it basically getting a new
You might
roof?
as well get a new roof.
Yeah.
They're going to take
that's
the
what
top layer on.
That's
It's getting a new
what
roof.
it is. You have to remove every tile and then you replace the underlayment and then you put the tiles back. So.
Okay.
Which is a
You
new
can
roof.
tell
Which
I
is
know a
new
lot
roof.
about this stuff.
Which is a new roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what has that done to the overall values? What would you say the values have done from last year to this year? Has there been much movement? Have you seen, is that part stabilized?
I think they're down. Oh, you're asking our expert?
Yes, I'm asking our expert. Yeah, you
I'm
think
sorry.
they're down? Yeah. Okay. She'd say they're up.
Yeah, let's ask the pro. I'm sorry.
Well, so it's very interesting because while they're somewhat stable, but the expectations of the sellers are having to be improved because there were still prices that were kind of hanging on from 2022, 2023.
That's
we kind
what
of
I wanna
coasted
know.
with
Yes,
some of those
that's what I wanna
prices,
know.
and just recently, as these buyers are not coming off the sidelines, the sellers are having to. There have been price reductions,
price
like crazy.
reductions.
So you can think that a price is right based on you're looking at the comps, you're looking at what's available in the neighborhood, what has sold, what's currently in the competition. And while this summer, summers are always kind of dead in Phoenix, but this summer specifically, it just shifted and down from last year. I would say we're having price improvements 50 to 60% of the time right now.
Wow.
So it's definitely kind of a shifting market, and it says it's stable. It says we're at like a balanced market, but our sellers aren't used to that right now. We've had a long
I have a
time
random
of
question. I'm
non-balanced.
going to totally take us off.
Okay, go
My
ahead.
apologies. Have you ever been like showing a house and had something really strange happen while you're in this said house? A ghost, some weird thing. I don't know, that caught you caught your guard.
Okay, let's see. Strange thing happened. Okay, well, there's a lot of strange things that happen. So do you want one that's a little gross or one
Gross.
that's more embarrassing?
Both.
Ooh, all right, hit us.
Yeah.
Which one?
I want gross first,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, then
we'll
we'll
move on.
decide.
So the gross one, we actually were already under contract, and I went in for the inspection, and the buyer was from out of state, and so I was handling the inspection, and there was just a smell, and we were like, "What is that smell?"
No.
And we couldn't find anything, and it was a townhouse, so we're close to our neighbors, right? Well, I go out with the inspector, and I meet the neighbor, and the neighbor says, "Oh, can you smell the dead body next door?"
The dead body?
Yeah, sure enough, the neighbor next door had passed away and didn't have family around, and they found him.
Poor
after the
dude.
fact. I mean, that's terrible, right?
Yeah.
But
That odor lingers, huh?
apparently.
Yeah. All right, what's
He
the other
wasn't
story?
He wasn't there. She wasn't there, right?
No,
Okay,
but
then.
of course, that's something that you should be
That stands-
disclosing.
Yes.
Everything should be disclosed when you're
Yes.
selling a property. That's very important.
Okay, what was the other story?
Embarrassing.
So
For who? You or the
me?
people? No. I like it. Put yourself out there. This is
Yeah.
good.
So you use your phone to open the Supra lock boxes. That's
Yes.
and so it's an app on your phone, and you have to, open the lock box or whatever, and then when you leave, you put the key back in the lock box, and you go to the next house or
Okay.
whatever. And I forgot my phone inside the house and locked it in there.
That's
So
good.
one, how do you get back in?
How do you? Who do you call? Can't call.
Who do you call? Yeah, I borrowed my client's phone and called the real estate agent, who you get the number from the sign, and luckily there was a hidden key box that just had a code. I mean, otherwise I don't know what I would have done, because
Well, that's
we couldn't have
pretty
seen.
lucky, if
That
that's
was
the
very
most
lucky.
embarrassing.
You
But
pulled it off. I'd say I agree. You pulled it
they
off.
still
too.
bought a house, so that's the good.
That is the good news. All right, I want to spend the bulk of our time with you, Amy, talking about what you think. And after hearing it, I'm like, how is this not a bigger story? How have I not been exposed to it? And in full disclosure, I don't plug into the news cycle the way that a lot of people do. It's a little toxic for me. And so I'm one of those people that has to be on the sidelines. I'll look in every now and again. Maybe I've missed it. But what is happening right now with real estate agents and this massive shift that you were telling me about?
So there was a settlement that took place in March where the National Association of Realtors, they agreed to a settlement for $418 million to basically settle for, well, the claim was price fixing. So there was a seller lawsuit that, in my opinion, is a bunch of crap.
Okay.
Sorry. But saying that we were price fixing as seller agents. What
does that mean, by the way?
By having the listing agent cooperate with the seller and give the seller the impression of what the price will be to sell their home, including a net sheet, including any costs that are associated with closing. And forever and a day, since there was buyer agency, which came about because it wasn't fair for buyers to not have representation, ever since the beginning of buyer agency, the seller has been compensating basically the buyer prepays for the cost of their agent by the price of the home.
Okay.
So appraisers know that the value is within the home because the price of their agent is going to come out of that home price. But it was the listing broker was getting the amount. So whether that was, let's say, 6%, 5%, whatever was negotiated, that would be the amount that was going to be paid to the listing broker. The listing broker would then say, I am going to share my portion with the buyer agent. And it technically was the buyer agent's broker. So it was broker to broker compensation. So the way the price looked was, okay, Mr. Seller, you're going to pay 5%. And then the listing agent would share that amount with the other broker. They basically decided that that was price fixing because the seller didn't have the ability to negotiate during the sale in the purchase offer with the buyer directly. They were saying it was non-transparent. However, the MLS, which, National Association of Realtors.
It's not Major League Soccer?
No.
No, it's not Major League Soccer.
No. But the reality is everybody knew what everybody was getting paid in the MLS. The buyer agent knew what was going to be paid. The buyer knew what the agent was going to be paid. The seller had already agreed to it. Now there's no transparency. That field was removed from the MLS altogether.
So, a lot of meat on that sandwich. Did you just hear what she kind of, there's a lot there.
I'm going to be honest, Steve. I tried really hard to understand everything that she was saying.
Clear as mud. You had a glazed look in your eye.
I know. I really appreciate it.
You did an amazing job. I know real estate. You just have to, he's going to have to just watch it again.
I have to listen to it again. I will.
Listen to it again. But you did a good job explaining. That's exactly what
I'm sure
was.
she did.
Yeah.
I'm sure she did.
It's a lot to unpack.
That's what I said, it's a lot.
To be honest, I'm not with eXp Realty, but I really like the way Leo Perea, who is the CEO of eXp, has said, he's like, this was just a money grab by the lawsuit for the lawyers, and nobody's asking what they made.
Will the average buyer and seller see any of this in their transactions? And if so, how?
Well, so yes, the buyer will now have to sign an agreement before they're even allowed to see a property. They will have to sign an agreement with their buyer agent and agree to what their compensation to their agent's going to be, regardless of what the seller is willing to provide.
Okay. So what is that? Break that down even more.
So a buyer who's coming up with a down payment and lender fees and appraisal cost and inspection cost is now also going to have to agree that if the seller will not compensate their agent, they will have to.
Interesting. Could they be on the hook for the whole percentage?
Yes, they could. It's all negotiable and transparent as mud. You know, and that's the reality. They're saying this was for transparency purposes, but now there is none. And all it is a lot of, question as to, and right now, while it's a stable market, the system's going to go fine because it's all negotiable. And it has always been negotiable, by the way. There was always a chance to be, a for sale by owner. There was always the opportunity to do a flat rate listing. There was always the, ability to negotiate with your listing agent. The reality is that now it all is going to be when the contract is presented.
Okay.
Seems like a lot of bureaucracy and probably a lot of real estate lawyers got rich on that deal, probably, right?
Yeah, and just wait to see what happens when the buyers aren't feeling like they can get, proper agency if they can't afford it.
Yeah, could be a real mess for them. What do you think sets Savvy apart from everybody else? What are you doing over there in your little
gears?
Yeah, we are. We are in your little neck of the woods. What are you doing different?
Well, I have just gotten into doing digital marketing and videos. So I just joined a coaching program, and I was really attracted to this coaching program because she is all about social media marketing and doing videos, being a community market leader, and putting out very informational and educational videos, trying to help buyers and sellers to understand the process, because it's a lot to unpack.
Sure.
And there's a lot of information that needs to kind of be given to buyers and sellers before they list their property, before they go buy a home, or during the process. What's that going to look like? And so I've kind of been doing that in the form of video. And then I also, intend, as I'm moving forward in this coaching program, to do, community outreach type videos, which is why this was totally right up my alley to be a part of this.
Right.
I was really excited when Steve brought it up to me, because I was like, this
is what I'm doing.
This fits with what I'm going for. So.
Yeah.
Well,
and we're thankful that you're one of our presentation sponsors. We want to say that.
Oh, beyond grateful.
Yes.
Beyond grateful.
And it sounds like you're on top of it, and you're getting your message out.
Doesn't sound like it, brother. She is.
She is. You are. It sounds like it. You are.
She is on top of it.
Sorry about that. You do. You're on top of it. And I know Amy personally. I know she cares about people, and that comes from her background before she got in real estate. And I think that also makes somebody that does what she does special. When you care about people and you're not just chasing the dollar. And so,
serve, not sell. I mean, that's my
it.
whole feeling
don't
on
ask,
it.
right?
And
There's so many
I'm
different
actually
ways
a
to
member
say
of
it.
100 Women Who Care, and
Great.
I was on the board of a charity that received funds from them, so I've been very grateful for the
what
opportunity.
charity is that? Talk about that.
The charity's ICANN. It stands for Improving Chandler Area Neighborhoods, and I was on the board for 6 years, and just retired because I was termed out. 6 years is all you can do, and I was really fortunate to be able to give my presentation and be able to give those funds to my charity. So it was
Our
really
last
cool.
show, our last episode, Denise McCreary.
Yeah, that's
part
what
of
I was
ICANN.
going to say.
Yeah.
I
You
thought I had
recognize
heard
that.
that before.
Yeah.
I was
So-
on the board with her. Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool. All right, last
job.
question for you. This could be kind of a fun question. If somebody's gonna look and try to hire a real estate agent to work with, what are some red flags out there? What like in your opinion, if this presents itself, it's a hard no. Is there anything like that in your industry?
Cheapest does not mean best.
That's right.
Okay.
That's the very first thing, because the value that is given by an experienced agent, it's so much more than, especially for buyers, it's so much more than opening a door for them. They need representation. The sellers have always got the representation there. You don't want to have their representative be your representative, because then there is no fiduciary duty.
Okay. Who do you really love to work with?
As an agent?
Yeah,
Or?
I mean, do you like working with investors? Would you rather work with that beautiful little family who's moving to Ahwatukee, or that family who lives in Ahwatukee and is, in their first home and now they're ready for their next big home or something like that?
Well, that's a really, I've worked with all sorts,
Yeah.
and I do. I mean, of course, you love new home buyers because they're so excited. But
Right.
in the phase of life that I'm in that phase where I'm thinking about my 16-year-old son's going to go to college in 2 years. My house is going to be way too big. I'm going to be by myself, and I am going to be that downsizer. But I love my home, and my kids were raised in it, and I have this emotional tie. So I feel like I really connect well with people who are probably getting ready to be empty nesters and getting ready to downsize and trying to figure out where they want to go in the valley, if it's even going to stay here in Ahwatukee or go somewhere else or whatever that looks like. But so that's where my my phase of life is.
love
but
that.
I love working. I just love people. I mean, that's why I love this job.
My marketing brain is screaming right now that you should own that niche.
Yes.
That empty nesters niche,
Yes,
because
do it.
there's plenty of them here in Ahwatukee. Yeah.
Do it.
working on it.
Do it.
Call
me.
Amy, Savvy Realty Group.
Amy,
guys.
thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
explaining that to everybody. I'm sure everybody but me got it. I'm confident in that.
There was a lot.
There's a
there.
lot to
There's a
unpack
lot
with that.
there.
I mean, it is.
You got to go slow and
And to be honest, August 16th is the date before it, cuts off. We have our new forms, but again, we're all new to this right now. So
Interesting.
the biggest thing is just to make sure that, buyers need to be represented, and sellers agents don't want to represent the buyers. I mean, they'll do it, but it's a lot.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, good luck with that fight, and we support you. You know that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Amy, take
Thanks
care.
for having me.
thank you, Amy.
You bet. All right, so we're going to wrap this podcast up today with our local legend segment.
Yes.
Now, a couple of days ago, I met this guy for the very first time.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting is him and I were in the same industry forever, right? We were both in the broadcast industry. It's a small world. I'd never met him before until this moment in front of the coffee shop.
Very random.
Isn't
It's
that nuts to
hilarious.
think that I hadn't met? And we live in Ahwatukee. Our kids went to the same school.
Right. Both heard of each other, of course.
Yes.
Knew of each other.
So he does a radio show on 98.7, right? That's the Bonneville property that he's on. It's Sports Talk.
I'm going to leave that up to you for.
Yeah, I
confirming
believe
that.
that's the
I believe.
station he's
If
on.
you say so, yes.
Let's ask him. Gambo,
Yes.
welcome to the podcast. How are you, brother?
Great to be here, Matthew. How are you?
This is good, man. You must feel like you're going back in time here at the Foothills Golf Club.
I am. I had my daughter Kaylee, my oldest daughter. The reason I moved to Ahwatukee was because of this daughter of mine, Kaylee. We had her sweet 16 birthday party here. She's going to be 30 years old now, so you got to go back.
What?
14 years. It was the year Desert Vista won the football championship, the state football championship.
And that's been a while.
Yes. And so we had her sweet 16 party here.
Oh, my God.
I know.
This feels like a few weeks ago sometimes, doesn't it?
It does. It's crazy to think, And like I said, she was the reason that we made the move from Gilbert to Ahwatukee.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Gambo, I feel like there's a thick accent there. He sounds like maybe he came from
I think-
Houston,
he's
Dallas. I'm trying to pinpoint it.
He is about as New York as you could pluck him out.
Mi padre nato Messina,
Yeah.
mi madre genitori nato Rimini.
Okay.
So there's an Italian in there too.
Yes.
But, yeah, basically Italian New Yorker. Father's off the boat, born in Messina, Sicily. Mother's
Nice.
parents are from Italy. So I grew up in an all-Italian neighborhood. Was in New York till I was about almost 30 years old, and I moved out to Arizona. And now I've almost been in Arizona as long as I've been in New York. So 28 years in Arizona, 30 years in New York.
What brought you to Arizona?
I think I just wanted to make a better life. I was a sports writer for Newsday. I think I just wanted to make a better life for my kids. New York's tough. It was hard, and I had 2 kids at the time. And, I came out to see a friend of mine that moved out here. My friend Craig moved out here, and I came to visit him. And I was like, you know what, this place isn't so bad. And just decided to give it a shot and made the move out.
How about that?
It was amazing. So back to the New York thing. You said you were in the sports writing business.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to know. I want to peel back. I'm going to start right from the beginning before we got here. What was? You've got to be a Yankees fan. Am I correct?
Yeah, Yankees
fan.
Yeah.
And
What distinguishes whether or not you're going to be Yankees or Mets?
Well, Yankees. There's. You're clearly one or the other. I can let.
If you're a Yankee fan, you're usually a Giant fan. If you're a Met fan, you're usually a Jets fan.
Okay.
So usually like Mets, Jets, Islanders, Rangers, Giants, Yankees.
Okay.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm a Yankee Giant fan, but I like the Islanders.
Islanders over the Rangers.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's interesting. Okay.
4 Stanley Cup champs.
Okay.
No,
Four
yeah,
times.
yeah, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
4 in a row back when I was a kid. Back when I was a kid
why.
playing ice hockey.
Oh, I remember that. Mike Bossy.
Mike Bossy, Brian Tracci,
you guys-
Clark Gillies, Denny
Oh, yeah, you
Potvin,
guys were
Billy
tough.
Smith was in goal. I mean, you can name the whole team by heart.
Yeah, there was, and probably the Yankees, because I know we grew up in that same era. Those '70s Yankees. Talk to me about Bucky Dent. Do you like Bucky Dent? What did he mean to you, or any of those Yankees during that time?
I think that's my greatest memory of being a sport fan is Dent's home run against the Red Sox to send us to the World Series.
Oh, yeah.
75, the Reds beat the Red Sox. That was they beat the Red Sox. Then in 76, the Reds beat the Yankees, swept them in 4. Yankees came back in 77 and 78, won both World Series, beat the Dodgers. People will remember 76 for Chambliss's home run against Kansas City, but Bucky Dent's home run in Fenway Park in a 1-game. They tied for
one game.
They tied for it. They had to play 1 game to see who was going to win, and the Yankees ended up winning a game. Greg Nettles caught the final out, and the Yankees went on to the World Series, and they won it.
I remember that. What impact did that have directly to you in your sports career?
I think I was just always a jock growing up, playing all the sports except for basketball, and then just always loving sports. And I remember, I remember because a lot of the games were on in the day. So sometimes when I was at school, like the teachers would put the game on the radio, like for the first half hour, 40 minutes before we would leave to go
11
to class.
11 Alive. I remember that. 11,
yeah, but some
every
games,
game.
So like the game might start at 1 and we get out of school 2:30. We get to listen to some of the game or things like that. But I think, and I remember exactly, that sometimes you just remember this. I was so mad that the Yankees were losing that I went outside and I just started to throw a tennis ball against the shed because I was just so mad that the Yankees were losing. I was so angry that they were losing. And then I came back in and let me because I didn't want to watch the Red Sox at bats. So I would only come in when the Yankees were batting. And then when the Red Sox were batting, I'd go back outside because I didn't want to see them score any more runs. And then eventually Dent hit the home run and Gossage closed it out and they won.
Amazing. Well, a Yankee fan, and only a real Yankee fan will remember this. I'm sure you remember, where were you when Thurman Munson died? You remember that?
Yeah, I was on my bicycle riding home, and some father was outside. I was at my friend Barry's house. I was riding my bicycle home, and one of the parents in the neighborhood said, "Did you hear the news?" I go, "What? Thurman Munson died," and I was just in shock.
It's just shock. I remember.
And then
was he in the
paper
Addams family?
No, he was one of the Yankee beloved.
Was he one
Yankee
of the all-time greats?
Yeah. Tough. He was good. He was
the captain of the team.
Captain.
He was a catcher. Great era for catchers. Johnny Bench. And Carlton Fisk and Thurman Munson and Jim Sundberg and Darryl Porter and a lot of great catchers.
But if you're a real Yankees fan, it's almost like an Elvis thing. I remember I had a hockey game. I played youth hockey, and we were at the rink, and I played, and it was like the news, boom, it was like a bombshell. All the parents talked about it. It was like, I remember that ride home. It was like
plane crash.
Yeah, plane crash.
Yeah, that's too bad. When did sports radio come into the picture? Because you were writing for many years. When did the sports radio come in?
All right, I had no experience in radio when I got the job.
Yeah.
No experience.
Right.
I even moved here. I was managing some fighters, boxing-wise. So I was managing Kevin Kelly. He was a featherweight champion. John David Jackson. So I had my foot in boxing, and I was writing. When I moved out here, I was writing for the Associated Press and for a magazine, but only for a few months. And then one day I met a guy named Tim Liotta. I think I was even doing a story on sports radio. And he says, "Have you ever done radio?" I go, "Nope." He goes, "You'd be really good at it. How about a Saturday show? Come in Saturday and do a show." Did the show Saturday for maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks. I did a Saturday show. And the guy that was doing the show before me was a guy named Tony Firmino. And he had some contractual issues, and they decided to part ways. And honestly, I had maybe 6 weeks of experience on radio. And he came up to me and he says, "All right, you're hired. You're going to do the show."
That's it. No
experience. Never did radio.
Yeah.
I had done maybe a 1 hour show, and then all of a sudden now I'm doing a 4-hour afternoon show.
How do you like it?
I've loved it. I mean, I've been very blessed that this has been my career. I always say that I think that radio is the best medium. Better than newspaper, better than TV. It's the best medium. I had Troy Lovello on my show today. It's like a 15-minute conversation. It's not a quote in a newspaper or a 30-second clip on television. I'm not knocking the other ones. They're great at what they do, but radio is the one platform where you can go to. I had Merrill Kelly on my show yesterday. Wow. 12-minute conversation with Merrill Kelly. Like, you don't get that on TV. You don't get that in the newspaper. Those guys do a great job of telling the stories and everything, but we really get to delve into everything and just expand on it in a way that really, I think, captures the audience. So I really have loved the radio platform a lot more than my writing background was.
Who do you think got paid more for their first radio job, Gambo or me?
I'm going to say, based on what he said, I'm going to say you.
All
right, let's go.
I don't want to tell you what I make now.
No, you don't have to. Your first radio job,
$30,000 a year.
I made $13,500.
Okay. Well, I was
Gambo doubled my salary.
So that was pretty good. Then you walked into that situation, and you just
that was my first contract.
So that's
$30,000 a year. That was in '97.
Yeah.
That was in '97.
And mine was 95.
Okay, $30,000 a year to do the full-time radio show.
And it was here in Arizona.
Yeah.
See, mine was in a small town, St. Cloud, Minnesota. Yeah. So I was in a teeny tiny town, and they didn't have any money. They didn't bill like they bill here in Arizona.
Yeah, and then you work. I ended up, the company I'm with now, there was Gambo and Ash. We did the show for, I did the show with Tim Liotta first. It was just a short time with Tim. He was the program director. I did the show with him for maybe a year and a half to 2 years. Then me and Ash had a really iconic type run, Gambo and Ash. It was a very popular show.
Yeah.
Ash was a great radio partner. And I did the show with him for, I guess, about 13 years, 12 to 13 years. And then I've done this show for the same amount of time now with Dave Burns, like 12 to 13 years with Dave Burns. Me and Ash made the switch to come over to KTAR. They had all the teams, but they didn't have the shows. So they had the rights to the D-backs and the Suns and the Cardinals, but they didn't have any popular shows at that time.
Okay.
So they came after, me and Ash when we got out of our contracts and we were free agents, and they came after us, and we made the switch and we went over to KTAR, and I've been there ever since. And it is a great company. It's the best company I've ever worked for.
It's the best company I've ever worked for in radio too.
It's incredible. I've never worked. I mean, they care about the people so much, right? You're not just a number. You're not just like, they care about you. They care about your family. All the little things they do to make you feel appreciated it's been incredible.
All right. I want to know do you have a sport highlight of your life that you've covered yourself? Is there an interview that you locked down for yourself that was like the pinnacle?
There's a real funny one. Me and Ash I got a funny one, and I'll tell you what my favorite one was. The funny one is me and Ash were taping an interview. We were working with a company that was working out all the athletes before the draft, and they said, okay, you've got Alex Smith. You guys will have Alex Smith. I'm like, okay, great, the Utah quarterback. He's going to be the number one pick in the draft.
Right.
Like, Alex Smith, that's incredible. Ash starts the interview. All right, welcome back to the show. It's Gambo and Ash, and we're joined now by the quarterback of the Utes. He's going to be the number one pick in the draft, Alex Smith. And he goes, guys, this is Alex Smith, the tight end from Stanford. He's like, I totally get it if you don't want to do this interview. And we're like, oh my God, we just like, all right, like, we'll continue. They didn't tell us that it was that Alex Smith. We're not thinking that Alex Smith.
The 7th round pick.
Yeah, we're thinking that guy from Stanford. We're thinking, Alex, you got us Alex Smith? Great, because we were getting all Now, probably my favorite one was when I broke the Steve Nash story nationally, that he was getting traded to the Lakers.
Oh, wow. How did you come into that information?
I can't tell you, because that's always like, so one of the things that I do is break stories and inside information. That's what I do. And my reporting background has allowed me to do radio different than everybody else that does sports radio.
Sure.
I'm not going to say better, but just different. I get to do it my way, which is, I go to the games, I develop relationships with the organizations. I was actually in California at SeaWorld, and I found out that the Suns were trading Steve Nash to the Lakers for 2 first-round picks. So I broke the story. By that time, we finally had social media, which when I first started, we didn't have social media.
I know.
I got a story, we had to wait till the next day. When I first started, one of the first stories I broke was Penny Hardaway was coming to the Suns. Now, how did I know this? One of the Suns players that I knew really well told me, we're going to get Penny Hardaway. I didn't believe him. He said, all right, where are you? I go in my house. He goes, go somewhere quiet where nobody can hear you. So I said, all right. So I go upstairs and I lock myself in the closet. And he goes, I'm going to call Jason Kidd right now. And don't say a word. I'm going to dial you in. So he calls and he goes, Jason, all right, what's going on? And all of a sudden Jason's like, yeah, Penny's coming out. It's a done deal. Penny's going to come. And me and Jason Kidd are very good friends now. But at that time, I wasn't friends with Jason Kidd. Jason was a superstar. He was a superstar. Mm-hmm. So this player that I was friends with called Jason, and I listened to the whole conversation. We're getting Penny Hardaway. He's coming to my house. It's going to be official next week. So I go with it the next day. We had to wait, right? We didn't have social media then. Had to wait till the next day. Then I go with it. The Suns are going to get Penny Hardaway. Nobody believes me. Nobody. It took about a week. Finally, they get him. And it was like, oh my God. So that was one. One of my favorites is Keith Kachuk was a really good friend of mine. Him and Jeremy Roenick. And when Keith got traded, we had a deal. If you're going to get traded, you got to let me know. Now, me and Keith had made a bet on the Yankees and the Red Sox right around that time. And in losing the bet, he had to come in and be my update guy. So I would write all the updates. And in baseball, the Red Sox suck again, and I would write it out, and I'd just make fun of all the Boston teams. Yeah. But when he got traded, he went into the locker room. He just found out, and he calls me, and he goes, hey, Gambo, I just got traded. To who? To the Blues. For who? For this guy. All right, I'm going to go with it. I break it. And we're just about to hang up because, listen, I got to go. I got to call Chantel, his wife. Didn't even call her first. Called me first to tell me that. Roenick did the same thing. And then recently, the Coyotes going to Utah. I had that about 2 weeks before it happened, that they were going to Utah. And I spelled it all out. They're going to go to Utah. Morello's going to try to get an expansion team. And then keep the Coyote name, but try to get an expansion team. So all the stuff you're hearing, they want to keep hockey in the desert. That's true, but they don't want to keep this team in the desert.
Right.
They just want to keep hockey here under the Coyotes banner, but this team is gone. They're going to, I even went on a Salt Lake radio station and said, you guys are getting this team. So I've really enjoyed that aspect of it.
That's really cool.
Breaking the stories for the Suns and the D-backs and the ASU and the Yotes, that's always been an adrenaline rush for me when I get to give that information out.
Give me your perspective, and this, Steve and I were talking about this before we got started. Growing up in New York, you have such a passionate fan base.
Yeah.
Now you go to the Arizona Cardinals game, a Suns game, a D-backs game, a then Coyotes game. Man, anywhere between 30 to 70% of the crowd's going to be there for the other team. And so
it's changed a lot. It used to be that way.
Yeah, maybe not.
It's not that way anymore.
Yeah,
I don't think it is. I don't. Maybe you do, Matthew. I think it's changed a lot because a lot of our kids now. Your son, our kids are growing up as fans here. Now, in the '90s, that wasn't the case. We all came from somewhere else.
Yeah, but let me go on. Let me chime in a little bit on this. I think but there is a difference. I mean, New York and Boston, those are passionate sports fans.
Yeah.
Arizona's usually their second
melting.
team.
Let's call it this is a melting pot of fans. So we're all. I love the D-backs too, but I'm a Yankees first.
Me too.
I moved here,
Me too.
and I'm a D-back. So it's almost like so it's almost like what Matthew said. It's almost like
it seems like their second team.
So for you, what have you? Tell me about that experience. Is that from a major they'll kill you if you wear a Red Sox jersey in Yankee Stadium to here where it's a more more like a kumbaya type of situation. That's maybe more what it's like.
Yeah, sure.
I do agree there's more Arizona fans, but it's not they're not gonna
they're not the same,
throw beer on.
They don't have the same passion that there is in Boston and in New York and in Philadelphia. I mean, I get that because that's in your blood. Those teams have been around for 100 plus years.
And those people don't move.
All these teams are new.
Right.
The Cardinals came in the 80s. The Diamondbacks came in the late 90s.
Yeah.
The Coyotes were here in the late 90s,
right.
mid to late
96,
90s.
yeah. Right,
Suns were the Suns have a great passionate base, but that's because it goes back to the 60s.
Yes, because the longest.
So I think it's longevity. I just don't think that there's, our grandfathers can't talk about the great Cardinal teams from Arizona. They can go back to Chicago or St. Louis. They can't talk about the way we could, a Yankee fan could talk about Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth. A Diamondback fan can only go back to Randy Johnson and Luis Gonzalez and Mark Grace and Kurt Schilling. Mm-hmm. So that's the difference.
The traditions.
Because it gets passed down from grandfather to father to son. Traditions of teams that have been around for 100 years.
So you're saying maybe our grandkids, our kids, if we have grandkids, those kids may grow up a little bit more passionately in the system, or because by that time or is it something where because again, like Phoenix is let's call it what it is. It's a melting pot salad bowl of people coming from around the country. Will it ever be like that? Because, let's face it, you moved here, I moved here, Matthew moved here. But a lot of our friends and family are still home. I guess that's what I'm saying. A lot of people.
Okay.
So that's what it's like. I think maybe that's more it is the hometown people. I'm originally from the Buffalo. Shout out to the only real New York football team. Let's call it what it is. A shout out to. I'm sure you're a Bills Mafia
Bills
fan.
Mafia guy.
Yeah,
I rooted against the Bills when the Giants beat them on the Norwood.
There you go. Okay.
But to that point, like, okay, Matthew, you have a son the same age as my son. Who does he root for in sports?
Yeah, I guess it's a good point. He's typically on the Arizona teams.
Who's his favorite baseball team?
We're not a huge baseball family, so that's probably a tough one.
What sports does he follow?
Hockey.
Okay, so his favorite team was
the Coyotes.
Mm-hmm.
And where are you from?
Minnesota.
So your favorite team was the North Stars.
Used to be, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, but is his favorite team the Wild?
No, not even close.
I think the point that I would make is that a lot of us came from somewhere else, and we try to get our kids to like the teams we like too.
Right.
But they grow up being Cardinal fans and Diamondback fans and Suns fans because they're growing up here, and that's the games they went to.
Yeah.
My son's first basketball game was a Suns game, not a Knicks game.
Right.
His first baseball game was a Diamondback game, not a Yankee game. His first football game was a Cardinal game. His first college football game was an ASU game. Like, his memories, I mean, I can't brainwash him, and I don't want to. His memories, and a lot of the kids that are growing up here, their memories of their first game are going to see the local teams.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think in many ways that's why that's why it's changing.
I get you.
Because their teams, that's their favorite team.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It's longevity.
It's
you got to be here
longevity.
long enough to matter.
Yeah.
that way.
And it's gonna take again, like we're not really comparing apples to apples. It's gonna take generations to catch up to
For sure.
where that depth of the father, the son, the grandfather, the father, the son
Right.
are all fans. So we're just we're a generation or two off. Compared to what you said.
I've taken my kids to Suns playoff
Yes.
games. He'll never forget that. He never went
Yeah.
to a Knick playoff game, but he went to Suns playoff.
Yeah, my
is.
daughter danced there as well. So I'm in the same boat. Our kids are about the same age.
Yeah.
And so they're the same. They grew up with Arizona sports and ASU. I mean, really.
Yeah.
My son, a U of A. Don't hold that against him up
My
here.
daughter went to U of A.
Oh, that's
She got
right.
her doctorate at U of A.
Yeah, okay, great. My
She
son's on
played
his way.
lacrosse at U of A.
Oh, that's great. So we're bonded there too. It is. Dude, we have to be quiet around. We're in ASU country, but I'm proud. I paid and my son was not a scholarship. Did very well. But yeah, I paid quite a bit of money.
I
to
paid
that school.
tuition
Oh, you
for-
paid, wow, that tuition really.
For
rocked.
Gabriella, I paid her tuition for U of A, and she went to 7-8 years and got her doctorate. Now she's a doctor at
There you go.
University Medical Center in Tucson. And Kaylee, my oldest, got a full ride Division I scholarship for soccer.
Okay.
So that that helped me.
Yeah. I wasn't there, but my son's catching him. I will say this: I'm very proud of him. He's circling back, and he's on his way to getting his PhD as well, and wants to end up back at U of A. He actually is on his high list to end up back there. So
And my daughter Allie, she played soccer too, and she did great. So they all did well.
As we wind down with you, Gambo, I wonder how many more years in the tank for you? You're on a segment on this podcast called The Local Legend, right? And everybody knows you in our community. Yep, obviously, I did radio, you did radio. It's a familiar voice that people enjoy, spending time with. Is this something you get to do for the next 10 years of your life? Is this something? No.
No, I'm winding it down. I've done
you?
the show for 28 years. I don't have a lot left. I'm going to do probably the next year or two, and I think at this point I probably just take it more year by year.
There it is.
I'm committed to next year, 2025, and then beyond that, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. We'll see how our health is.
Right.
I'm going to buy some property in Italy. I have a lot of family there.
Amazing.
And I want to spend more time with my aunts and uncles and my cousins and the people that I love over there. I got married in Italy. Me and my wife did. We try to go every year. I love to travel. So, I think that Yeah, I think I'm on the,
The back nine?
I'm on the, not even back nine. I think I'm in the fourth quarter at the 2-minute warning.
Wow. Okay.
And I love the show. I do love the show.
Of course
and I love
you do,
doing
man.
the show.
It's the
But
honor
am
of
I
your
going to do
life.
it for 10 more years? No. Am I going to do it for 5 more years? No. I'm going to do it next year, and then I'll probably do it the year after that, and then we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to have you on again before that happens for sure. Getting some updates and
Yeah,
some
maybe
of your,
we could be the podcast that breaks the story.
Yeah, baby,
yeah.
give it to
You can
us.
give back to us, yeah.
Before we leave, I want to know just a little off the cuff question. Okay, you covered all the sports. You said you take pride in knowing all the players. Give me your top underrated player that you covered that you thought just did not get the love, and you've covered the player just for whatever reason. Just was an underrated player.
What
Who's your-
sport? I feel like that's such a hard
I'm gonna go baseball.
Okay.
Underrated baseball player.
That did so well for the Diamondbacks you covered, but just did not get the love that you felt he maybe deserved.
I don't know how underrated Paul Goldschmidt was. He was pretty highly rated, but they traded him.
Okay.
I know.
And it was like, oh man, you just traded Paul Goldschmidt.
That's what
But
I'm
they
looking
kinda-
for, okay.
They kind of had that at that time. I think Miguel Montero was a great catcher.
Okay.
And he was a pretty underrated guy. Brandon Webb, unfortunately, got hurt. He was on pace to have an incredible career, and he got hurt. So.
Oh, yeah. I remember him being a
Yes.
really big deal,
He had
right?
that shoulder injury.
He was supposed
just-
to be top. Yeah, he was top dog.
Just never recovered. If you want an obscure guy, Tapman, Ryan Roberts, man. He just
That's
had,
what I was looking
he
for,
had
okay.
some great moments. Never had a great career. And had some great moments. Him and Junior Spivey had some really
Junior
great
Spivey,
moments.
okay.
But they weren't the stars the way those other players
Well, that's what I was
were.
looking for our audience and listeners out there. That's what I was looking for. So those type of players. Okay. Flip side, overrated player, a player that you thought was getting too much love. Too much coverage.
There's 100 of them.
Okay, who's the tops? Who they? Over here, like, who's?
You got to go with the biggest bust contracts that we had. A guy like Madison Bumgarner.
Okay.
Wasting $80 million on Madison Bumgarner. Total waste of money for him. Yasmani Tomas gave
There
all
we
that
go.
money to. And
Another one.
He was terrible. The Cardinals gave $15 million to Sam Bradford to play like 3 games.
I know.
That was-
I remember
Total
that.
waste of
Okay.
money. Complete. The overrated guys are a lot easier.
Okay.
God, the Suns had so many of them. Markieff and Marcus Morris, and even all their draft picks were high draft picks that just bombed out. Guys like Marquise Chris and Josh Jackson. One of the highest paid guys that they had was a guy named Trevor Ariza. Total bum, total waste of money was Trevor Ariza. I can go on and on with the guys that were
you
over.
can.
Eric Burns with the Diamondbacks. I told him one time, I go, your song should be Take the Money and Run. And then we never did a show with them again after that.
So as we
awesome.
wind down with you, Gambo, let's get to hyper-local sports. Let's talk about our Ahwatukee community that you and we all live in.
Yeah.
Do you get a chance to go out and look at DV football games? Do you ever come out to some DV hockey games? Is there anything in you that gets to enjoy that part of the sport?
Yeah, I loved going to the games when my kids were in school,
For
and
sure.
it kind of meant something, and that was great. And now being in the community, my son plays baseball. My daughter's an archer; she does archery. Well, my son has played baseball in this community, and played and has played for so many teams here. Played in the Ahwatukee Little League, won a championship in the Ahwatukee Little League, and I get to watch all those kids grow up now, and a lot of them are playing at Desert Vista and playing at Corona. So I've got to see that through his time in the Ahwatukee Little League, and then playing club baseball for local teams, that were here in this area. He's played for a bunch of those, from the Snipers to All Nine. Played for a bunch of local teams, and I've got to watch those kids. So my thing is really now is we're always with him, baseball. I mean, he was able to make the JV team as a freshman last year, so that was very exciting.
Oh, nice.
That he was able to make the
That's
JV.
quite a leap, dude. That's a tough team to make as a freshman.
He was only 2 freshmen made the JV
Yeah.
team, and he was one of the 2 freshmen that made it. It was awesome, and we're always on the go with him. He's always playing, and went to the U of A baseball camp last week. We're starting to think think about, can he play in college, or what level can he play at?
So
what
he's
do we
out
do?
there. He's still in the mix. Yeah, you're still.
Yeah,
in
so
there.
we're still in the mix. We're still
Yeah.
around. It's more baseball than anything else, watching the kids play locally, and I love watching, all these kids that I've grown up with from the Ahwatukee Little League on, watching them grow up and develop and become great baseball players in high school. I love watching that.
All right, so here we go. I get some hard-hitting questions for Gamble, unless you have anything else you want to ask him.
No, I'm good. You go.
All right, so Gamble, favorite restaurant in the Took. Where do you love to go for a meal?
I like Va Bene.
Yes.
Quite a bit. I like the Vero's Pizza.
Yes.
It's pretty good.
Oh,
I always get a good
See, that was the one
pizza
question
there.
I had from. I forgot that. Is the Paisan? I want to ask him because we are. Let's call it the.
But that's
pizza
a Chicago
It's
pizza.
Chicago.
No, but
Yeah,
we are being Italian. We are the pizza specialists. It's in our arena.
I love a place called La Familia. It's in Chandler, so that
Okay.
doesn't count. But the La Familia is probably the best New
Pizza.
York pizza.
Okay. I have not been
that
there.
I had.
Okay.
But I do like going to Va Bene. Boy, that little coffee shop I ran into you guys. I love that place.
Right.
Us
for-
too. We have
Coffee
our
and flowers.
We have a lot of meetings
for
there
coffee
too.
and
So
flour.
good,
And I
Jasmine
love
Duck.
the Bagel Man.
Oh
He's
yeah,
I love the Bagel
I wish
Man.
he would be open a little bit more.
He's
Those
open every
hours.
day now.
Oh,
Now you don't know. He's open every day.
How did that happen?
The Bagel Man. And now there was a great bakery that opened right next to the Bagel Man, and I go in like twice a week for their scones, because their scones are incredible. I think Frosted Bakery. It's right next to the Bagel
Okay,
Man.
I'll
Frosted
check that.
Bakehouse. So it's right there. But yeah, the Bagel Man for
I'm a big Bagel Man fan.
bagels is a great way to go.
Yeah. And the pizza Vero, anywhere else? Is that your go-to? Is there one or two Florencia?
Florencia's good.
I think I've seen you at
Florencia's
Florencia,
good.
yeah.
I've been at Florencia's too. That's a good place to go for pizza. My wife, born and raised here, went to Chandler High. She's father's from Sinaloa, so she likes a lot of the Mexican restaurants.
Yeah, buddy.
She
Now
loves
you're
the Mexican
talking my
food.
language. Yeah.
So she's big on that. So yeah, I would say those are some
your
of the
favorites.
go-to
That's
places
cool, man.
to go
Well, the
to.
Took is lucky to have a guy like you.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
It's-
I've been here for a long time. I mean, I told you, my daughter Kaylee's the one, started playing soccer for a team called the Rowleys with Joe Goslin, and we came to practice out here, and I met a lot of people, and I was at one of her friends, Kayla Weeks. I was at her mom's house, Dean Weeks, and I was like, man, I really like Ahwatukee. This is hills and mountains. Everybody's biking, and everybody's out and they're walking, and it just felt different. It felt a little bit more like home than a lot of the flat areas that are in Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
So we made
Beautiful.
we made the move to Ahwatukee, and I've been here for 16, 17 years now.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on this podcast.
Thank you
Great to
very
be on
much.
with you guys.
Thank you very much.
Really
All right.
appreciate
Great to see
that.
you. As always.
Thank
That's
you.
Gambo.
The great sports voice of all time.
I know.
I'm going to give it to you right there.
Thank you. I
Well,
really
it is
appreciate
so
it.
nice of him to because this is what he does for a living.
Yes.
And then it's like, here, come do more of your job.
Yeah.
No
Yes.
problem. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun to be interviewed.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
We just have a conversation.
Yes.
It's not like we just
Yeah.
have a conversation about a whole bunch of different things. That's the way I
When
look
there's
at it.
when there's some fun, interesting stuff, and you got some stuff to report, we are going to have you on again.
All right.
I'm going to come look you up again.
You got it.
All right, man.
bud. Thank you so
Gambo,
much.
thank you, brother.
Thank
You got
you.
it, boys. Take
Steve,
care.
great job today,
Thank you.
man.
Yes.
Listen,
Really
Amy
enjoyed it.
Richardson was great to learn about real estate today. I loved learning about all of the charities that the 100 plus women who care are giving back to, and Michelle and Kay and Kim. It was a good pod.
It was great. I mean, all local people, and finished up again with a local legend here. So I couldn't be happier. Just
Love
a
it.
great show. Thank
Yes.
you.
I like
Great
a
job.
Riverdale cheese too.
Oh, Riverdale.
I like a Riverdale cheese.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
I've never been there.
What?
Good food,
Okay, we'll
great
go tonight.
salads.
Okay.
There's another one I like
go tonight.
locally. I had to remember all the ones I really like. There's another one.
Don't forget them.
We'll see everybody
Yeah,
next
thank
week.
you guys.
Bye.
Thanks again.
That's awesome.